Hi, Governor Jeb Bush speaking in Tallahassee at the State Emergency Operations Center. And it is true, this storm is going to move across the state excruciatingly slowly, but it is going to do it. And it is going to threaten the Panhandle as well, so the entire state of Florida, with the exception of the lower Keys, is going to get to have some kind of dealings with it. And the lower Keys have already felt it. We've had a few squall lines go through there, although not at a real threatening level. Now, interesting thing happened while the governor was speaking there. Craig Sesser has been monitoring reports coming from the hurricane hunters in the plane, and there's a device on the plane called a step frequency radiometer. It's essentially a radar, kind of like a police radar, sort of, that they shoot down to the ocean surface, and then the sea spray that's blowing along, they kind of measure how fast it's moving. And look what they measured here in the northern part, just outside the eye, 116 miles an hour. So I guess there's some possibility in the next advisory they're going to upgrade this back to a Category 3 hurricane. But the point is that, look, there's 106 over here, there's an 83, an 88. So there's a very strong band of winds in this band right around this sort of eye center. So as that rotates around, that's going to come down right over Palm Beach County if this storm inches just a little bit over to the left. It's very close now. We have multiple radars here to look at this on. This is on the other radar. So this is the band right up in here. There it is right there. And so if that rotates around and gets over land, that is going to be a very damaging wind band, because that's the strongest winds we've seen here so far. All right, let's go back to the radar in motion here, and we can kind of get an idea how this thing is moving. We're looking at these little red things, too, the little red flecks in here. Those red flecks very often indicate stronger cells. So here's one. This is from the Miami radar now, and there's one just about to come in up here in Melbourne. Now, we also have the Melbourne radar, but you can see that it's very solid back in here. The radar returned very, very solid. And then there's another very solid one just offshore of Palm Beach County. And this band that's going to come down and get Broward County and Miami-Dade County looks very solid as well. So these next few hours are going to bring some very heavy storminess, even all the way down into Miami-Dade County. So this would be a good time to kind of get where you're going to be for a while in Miami-Dade County if you haven't done that, and let this next squall line go through. Now let's go up to the Melbourne radar. Same kind of idea. It just shows us further up the state. I mean, look at this. It goes way up the state here, way north of Melbourne. And look at the strong cells in the corner of your screen heading toward Orlando. So already a good part of the peninsula is being dominated by weather from this hurricane, and it really has truly only just begun. Now here's the satellite sequence. This is interesting too. There was this very broad eye area here over the west end of the Grand Bahama earlier today. Now watch as it runs here, and you can actually see it get a little better organized. It has a little bit of a rounder shape to it. You can also see that very strong squall line. See it here at the end? Watch at the end. And you're going to see this arcing over the top of the eye and down just offshore of Palm Beach County. That's the strongest part of the hurricane right now, but it is just offshore. The question is whether this really big eye is going to finally start pushing off to the west, and if it does, those very strong winds, or when it does, those very strong winds are going to come ashore. The other interesting thing is, look in here, that's clear sky in there and over in here, and this is very thin overcast right in there. So, as the governor was saying, although I think he completely underestimated the amount of time involved here, because if this eye it is 70 miles across, but let's say this clear part is 40 or 50 miles across, and the storm is moving at 5 miles an hour, that's 8 or 10 hours worth of eye for where that comes across. But now to the north and to the south of the eye, the weather will never stop. But in the so-called eye, and I always say that because it really doesn't act much like an eye, and when it's this big, the weather is going to taper off. Once again, going back to those wind reports, you can see here in the center, only 12 miles an hour, 20, 24. Now it picks up pretty quickly as it goes out, but in here, in general, you don't have any rain or very little rain, even though you do certainly have some winds for a part of the time. So, and maybe that may be what the governor was talking about, just the period of light winds there. But the period of very little rain and maybe some sunshine is going to be quite long. All right, let's go ahead and finish up here for folks that are just tuning in late this afternoon. and getting a feel for this thing. Here's the size of it on the satellite, and I want you to notice how far out these rain bands extend on this side, when remember the center of the storm is over here. So in other words, the back side of the storm is so much bigger than the front side. So even though the eye is really almost ashore, the edge of the eye is almost ashore in Palm Beach County, the rain behind it, once that eye, if it ever gets over the state, is going to just take a long time to clear, and we think it's still going to be stormy here into Monday, actually, although probably not in a dangerous kind of way. As of the latest advisory, 26.9, 79.0, 105 mile-an-hour winds, and of course some question whether that will be upgraded here in the new advisory coming up within the hour. And it was estimated to be moving on average west-northwest at 5, but it hardly seems like it's moving much at all, maybe drifting around a little bit. About 70 miles east of Palm Beach at that time. All right, that's it. I was going to show you the future track, except that's the timing, and I think we need a new future track because it really has not been moving much, and see what the National Hurricane Center gives us here, probably in about a half hour's time.
Okay, Brian. Thank you very much. We have had reporters fanned up along our viewing area up the East Coast, which during this hurricane extends all the way up to Indian River County. And by far the worst hit area we have seen anyway, as the eye approaches, is Juno Beach in Palm Beach County.
Yeah, right in the northern part of that county. Art Barron is standing by in this condominium complex here with a report for us. Art?
Now to take a look and take pictures. This area...
We're hearing from Robin, who's in Boca.
A different voice there. But this is a Juno Beach picture right here.
There's Art.
And I think I can hear Art. Art, can you hear us?
Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. So, okay, here we go. It's having a little bit of a hard time hearing you, but I was going to mention that within the past half hour, the weather out here has turned a little more violent. And I was listening to a little bit of what Brian Norcross was mentioning here just a couple of minutes ago. And it has been dark, but just in the past couple of minutes, it's been getting a little brighter out here. If we pan to the right here, Mike, pan to the sky, I don't know if you can really make out the detail here, but you can see a little bit of a lighter type contrast to the sky. So that's kind of giving you the story as to what's happening. He was talking about the eye as it approaches, as it gets ever so close. But we understand that the worst of all of this is yet to come. People, of course, have been preparing for quite a while, but all around here, you see a lot of downed tree limbs. We're going to go ahead and zoom in over here and just show you some of what we've been noticing. We've been seeing pieces of debris flying off. You can see that the winds are rather erratic. It's not a steady stream right now. We'll have pockets where it'll die down, and then other times we just get these sudden blasts where it literally knocks you off your feet. But I can tell you, out here it's getting a little erratic. But we're pretty well hunkered down because Mike's walking over here and kind of showing you another vantage point. You can see a lot of the debris over here near this swimming pool. Well, all day long it's been pretty much this type of scene. Just lots of flying debris. You can see some stuff over here to the left, right on top of the carport. Some broken branches, that type of thing. You guys have some questions?
Yeah, Art, you have surveyed much of Palm Beach County on your way up there. Tell us about the types of damage that you've seen so far.
I've seen some minor to moderate damage right now. Nothing major or extensive. I mean, nothing like I saw in Punta Gorda. It's nothing like that. But again, as keep in mind, you know, that band, the real intense part of the storm that Brian Norcross was mentioning is still yet to come, and so we're awaiting that. The next hour or two. This is such a slow mover that we cross our fingers. We hope there's not going to be a lot of damage, but that's the concern. That's the worry. And a lot of people, as you know, are hunkered down. They have storm shutters, they're boarded up, or they've evacuated. And you know, of course, that's what everyone is trying to figure out. That's the $60,000 question, because when this system moves so slowly, obviously it just grinds and grinds, and then of course, you know, it can stir up a lot of damage. But I've seen just basically a lot of lines down. I saw tree limbs, trees uprooted, that type of thing, some scaffolding, some signage strewn about. One thing I wanted to mention is that yesterday we went through a mobile home park right off of Lake Worth Road in West Palm Beach. I wanted to just venture in there and see if anybody was deciding to stay the course. We came across one individual. I said, well, why aren't you moving out? This is the worst place to be in a mobile home park. I mean, my goodness, a storm, a hurricane's, knocking on your door. And he just said, well, nothing's open. There's no food places open. There's no restaurants open. Where am I going to go? I just said, well, you can go to the nearest shelter if you don't have a friend to stay with. And the piece of that building just flew off over there. You kind of missed it there. And we drove by there today, and he's still hunkered down in the mobile home park. So if anybody is watching in a mobile home park, that's the worst place to be. But you still have some diehards, and of course we know that the consequences can be fatal, as was the point in Punta Gorda.
Yeah, Art, that's a good point to make. And now that the eye is approaching, you'll have a break of about 6 to 10 hours, as Brian mentioned, so it might be a good time to head to a shelter if you haven't already. But remember that after that, more squalls are on tap.
And if it's anything like they've seen out in the Bahamas, that back half of this storm is just so wet. I mean, rain and feet of water standing in places like Marsh Harbor and Nassau. Art, you're still standing by there. Let me shoot another question at you. Can you see or have you heard of any? Whoa, that's a good wind gust right there. How about police presence? Are the authorities still out? Do you know?
Okay, I'm sorry, I have to repeat the question. What?
Are the police departments still out on the streets? Do you know?
I saw a fire rescue unit here about 40 minutes ago. It was just about a couple of blocks over behind me. So yeah, there are still some vehicles on the road, but the rule is like, when the wind gusts are past 40 miles an hour, they are usually called back because it's a dangerous proposition for them. They don't want to be a casualty when they're trying to, when they're making a call, that type of thing. You have to pardon me here, bracing myself, because this is a balcony here and the winds can get quite powerful.
Yes, as we see. Thank you, Art, for hanging in there with us to show us the effects of the storm in Juno Beach. And it's been that way for quite a while. And actually, in other parts of Juno Beach earlier today, it was even worse.
Yeah, we're going to see this happen, as Brian said yesterday. They're going to be these bad squalls, and then the parts in between them are going to get worse and worse also. I think we were seeing something move in there right as Art was speaking. But earlier, this is a picture from Dania Beach here. You can see the wind is still kicking up there. But earlier, up near Juno Beach, Jennifer Santiago experienced one.